So now we're ready to place columns, and so what we're going to do is use our grids to place the columns. And the first thing we need to do is go into Structure, Columns, and we need to be in a plan view. So I'm going to Structure, Columns, and then you'll see welded wide flange column. Okay. And you'll see some other columns here. Those are default in here. Revit has already created the all the conventional standards. In our case, our columns are so small, we're not going to use a welded wide flange column. We're going to use just a wide flange. And so I'm going to show you how to select that. So we're going to go into Load a Family, and we're going to go down to Structural Columns, and out of there we're going to select Steel, and then here you'll see Welded Wide Flange columns. You use those if you've got really tall structures or carrying heavy loads, but since ours are fairly small, we're going to just use a wide flange. And so we're going to open that, and here you can see all the selection of profiles that have already been created. And we're going to go down here and select, you'll see D. D is the depth of the webbing, and BF is the width of the flange. And so we determined we needed something around 8 by 9 or something like that. So you can see here's 8 by 8. If we go over here, here's 9 by 8 with a flange of 9 or 8, 9. So the size that we selected out of Allen isn't exactly here, but let's see if we get something kind of close. I would say let's just go to a 9-inch. This one right here. We know that that'll be large enough. So we're going to say OK. And it's going to load it in. And then we'll see, we want to select it right here. So that's the column that we're going to put in. The next thing we want to do is determine, is this going to be a slanted column or a vertical column? I'm going to make it a vertical column, of course. And you'll notice that if we go in here, we can't see it, okay, because we're on level 3. Okay. So I'm going to close this view, and we'll cancel out right now, and we'll go to Structural Plans, and you'll see level 1, and you'll see top of footing, and that's the place where we want to place. So we're going to place it at the top of the footing, and then in its height to the first or the second level up here. Okay, so top of footing. So we open the top of footing. Let's go back now and Structure, Column, wide flange. Notice it defaulted back to slanted column. I don't know why it does this, but it does, so be careful. I'm going to click on Vertical Column, and it's going to start from the top of the footing and go up from there. So we want to set the height, and we're going to set the height to level 2. So we want to go top of footing to level 2. And if we zoom in, we'll see the little column and its width. The only reason we see that is because this view is set to level of detail of medium. If it was set to coarse, which it might be, so if you put it in and you don't see all that level of detail, then you may need to go down here and change this from blank to either medium or fine. Okay, I'm just going to set it at medium at this point. And so, of course, that's not where we want the column. Now, since most columns are centered on grid lines, the insertion point for a column is set to the very center of the column itself. And so we can move it in here, let it snap to the intersection, and we can place that column in, and we can see it right over here. Now in your view, if you don't see it, okay, the first thing you made, there's our two columns right there, right? So I'm going to delete that one, and you can see that it's that one I've selected. If you don't see it, because this is set to coarse, and so all we're doing is seeing the line, not the detail. So we're going to change that back to medium so that we see the column itself. But what we'd like to do is be able to put all those columns in at one time rather than go into the intersection of each grid. So what I'm going to do is select, delete this, and we're going to insert the column in a different way. So I'm going to structure column, and this time we're going to do a vertical column. Still height is by height in level 2, but we're going to use grid lines, and so I'm going to select grid here, and I'm going to do a cross selection, and since Rivet is set to only select grids, we don't have to worry about it grabbing other line types. So I'm going to do a cross selection, and with the cross selection selected, then I can hit finish, and at the crossing point of each one of these grid lines, it's going to place a column. So if you see right here, we go back, you can see now we have grids. If we open a 3D view, and if there's not a 3D view in your template already open, then you go to View, Default 3D View, okay, and then it'll open 3D View. And so you can see now we have our columns all shown. Now we want to do the next level up, and the next level up is a different height, so we don't want to copy these. So what we're going to do is open the next level that we are going to build out, which is level 2 of the structural plans. Now if you don't have a structural plan for a level because you copied a level instead of placing it, then you can go into views, plan views, and then open structural plans, and they should be listed here, but you can see I've already got structural plans all open. So level 2, we're going to open that view. I'll use WT again to size the two views, get them on the screen, and that's WT, okay? And you'll notice that we can see the columns below because they're within the view plane. So what I'm going to do is once again go into Structure, Columns, Vertical, at Grids, select, and once again, even though there's columns there, it will filter them out because it's only looking for grid lines. And then I'm going to say, oh, let me check first. I'm going to just hit cancel, and that'll cancel out my selection because I want to make sure that I'm set to the right level. So it should be going to level 3. So we're going from level 2 to level 3. And so go back now, grids, select the grids, and say finish, and boom, we got a second level there. Okay. There is a way to copy. The problem is that it's very difficult because Revit restrains you from copying things in all 3 cardinal directions at one time, the X, Y, and the Z. It prefers to allow you to only copy in the X and Y direction, or the X and Z, or whatever it might be. There are ways to 3D copy, but once again, some elements actually can't be copied that way. Columns are one of those system elements that can't be copied 3-dimensionally. So you can copy them by moving a set of them in a vertical direction. And that's what we're going to do right here. So I'm going to select these columns, and I'm going to use an including selection tool going from left to right. Right? And since they're the only things in there, I don't have to worry about that I grabbed multiple other columns. Of course, I could click on 3D view, check real quick to see, yeah, and I've selected all of them. And so, whoop, it deselected them. So I'll select them again, and we're going to copy them. But we don't use the copy tool. Okay, if you look at the little video that comes up, you'll notice when you copy something, it will allow you to copy it horizontally. Okay, but columns can be copied horizontally, but we want to copy these vertically, and they can't be copied vertically with this copy tool. So we're going to have to use the copy to clipboard. And so I'm going to select copy to clipboard, and then I'm going to use the paste, and they have some easy to use pasting designations here. So I'm going to align to a picked level. Okay, so I'm going to hit align to pick level, and I'm going to go up here and select the top level here, because it's going to build the column by depth, and it's going to copy. And if I go back into my 3D view, and there it is. And so now I have all three levels of my columns selected, created. The next we're going to talk about foundations.